during a period of time during the Vietnam War, all they wanted was freedom and righteousness and our rights. They did a lot. Angela Davis, Huey Newton, Bobby Seals, just to name a few of them. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur. Yeah. All of these people were very phenomenal, significant to the progression of us moving forward in time to get some of the rights and things that we have right now. So the whites had lied to the black people for years, telling them they were from Africa. In the black people's psychic, there's nothing but Africa and America. They do not realize all of this other land, that black people was in all of the land. That they were not just stolen from Africa, but they were stolen from all the other countries and land mass. And a majority of them were stolen from up north. Why would you take your ship all the way to Africa and you may not make it back because you got to have fresh water and food? You might die before you get back. Why would you need to do that when black people are everywhere, when it's so convenient for you to take your ship up north, kidnap some black people, 12 Years a Slave people, look at the movie 12 Years a Slave, and bring and change their names from Kunta Kinte to Toby, and slave them in the South, because the South is the only place there were slaves at this particular time. Yeah. And Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman would come from up north to the South and steal them back and bring them back up north to where they were stolen from. And these two women's story has never been told how activists they were. Wow. You heard their names in history, but you don't even know what their journey and why they were so important. So if they stole them from Africa, then they would have to take them back to Africa. But there was no need, because black people were from everywhere, all this land mass, all these different countries. Black people were the indigenous people right here in America.
So do you think that, the Black Panthers and all
Well, let me explain to you, because I really got to get you to thinking. I got to get all of you thinking.
No, I love it.
Well, it backfired on the whites, because the whites had been lying to the black people, telling them they were African Americans. Right. Well, you're not a place. Africa is a place. It's a nation.
It is.
It's not a race. There are white people born in Africa. So they're African Americans. America take all of the affirmative action money in schools that black people can't get here, because you can't prove you came from no Africa. You know what I'm saying? You can't prove that you came from Africa. There are no records, and a lot of the Jews and whites were ship owners. There is no manifest showing where they got these slaves from. You know what I'm saying? Look at 12 Years a Slave. And you got to think about this for a moment. Black people think that Africa is a color. They do not realize that there are Syrians and Turks and Dutch and Germans and Spanish and white people born in Africa every day. And they're Africans. In fact, I have one in my family. She's a white South African. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I know this from firsthand knowledge, not from reading any books. So this is where it backfired. They told the black people that they came from Africa, but if you came from Africa, why aren't you on Indian reservations? Because the Indians are on, the natives, they're on reservations. Now, if America was where they came from, then why are they on Indian reservations? And if the black people came from Africa, why are they not on reservations? Because if you came from someplace, this wouldn't be your home, so you would be on the reservations. Because if you go back in history during all the wars, we can look at the Japanese War, Pearl Harbor, they locked them up in camps.
Yeah.
There was the Cubans, they came from Cuba, they had camps in Florida. Everybody that comes from a foreign country get locked up in Guantanamo Bay. What is it?
Bay.
That's right. So you got to think about this. Black people are the indigenous people that this whole country. Because see, now the ones that are on the Indian reservations, they are mixed with the conquistadors, the Cortez, and all the conquistadors. There's pictures I can show them. They came over, they mixed with the indigenous people here, the blacks. And that's why you see Spanish people, Mexicans, because it's the conquistador blood. It's Spaniard blood. That's where you get the blonde hair and the blue eyes, and it's the European bloodline. But they don't tell you about this history. So now, they told these black people that they were Africans and they were from Africa, and sometimes they would say, go back to Africa. Then black people would move. A lot of them moved there. Garvey, remember Garvey? He was going to take them over to Africa. You got to go back in history, and I'm giving you the big picture so you can ponder and see what's really going on. So now all these black people in America doesn't know that Africa is not a race. There are no races. No one has ever told you guys there are no races. Go back in the Bible, go back in history. There's nothing but tribes. You have the characteristic of a tribe. You came from the Moabites. You came from the Philistines. You came from the Cushites. You came from the Romans. You came from the Babylonians, the Sodom and Gomorrah. You know what I'm talking about? You came from Mesopotamia. You know, all these, the Babylonians. All of these tribes, you have the traits of these tribes. And they don't tell you this, but it's in the Bible. You can go pick up the Bible, look at all the tribes, look at the traits of the tribes, and you can actually figure out where everybody